Hello everybody, it's me, GhostCritic, back again with more comic book reviews for you on this very cold, wintry, wet Sunday afternoon. Let's try and warm ourselves up with some comic books. And it's, as always, it's a spoiler-filled review show. I'm going to be talking stories, plot lines, character developments, all that kind of stuff in there. So if you've not read any of these books, as I bring them aloft, then please skip the video or stop, read and come back again. And there's only 4 books to talk about this week. It's a little bit kind of quality over quantity because there was some great stuff in this week's reading pile, however small it happened to be. Unfortunately, the first one I'm talking about, which is a shame because it's one of my favourite books, didn't quite fit that bill. We're talking Super Sons issue number 12 from Peter Tomasi, and this is only because it's part of this crossover Super Sons of Tomorrow storyline, this being the finale, the final chapter, and I didn't read the others because they were in other titles, so I haven't the foggiest what is going on here. So I was lost throughout the whole thing, and obviously I just couldn't connect with that story. There are some nice little kind of moments within it that you were getting anyway, and the kind of burgeoning friendship of Robin and Superboy. The two that really are personality wise kind of at odds to each other, but somehow they realise that they're always going to have each other's back, and I'm guessing kind of like they've seen an element of the future which doesn't bode well for one of the two. Again, it's very confusing, but they both work out that they're going to try their hardest not to let this future event happen. It's a bit schmaltzy in places with the whole kind of Superman over moralistic attitude, which is why I don't really get on with Superman as a character. It's just very black and white. This is going to happen or it's not going to happen. You're going to go bad, or it's just, it grates me because it always seems to come out of his mouth. And while there's an element here where I feel like maybe Superman's getting them to make that decision to give them the push to where they wanted to go anyway, and it's almost kind of like a test to them. It just still feels grating and I don't like it, which again is why I don't pick up Superman as a title. I've never really got on with the character. But art-wise, Patrick Gleason's on here, and it's fantastic as always. These two have played in the kind of comic book pool together many times previously, and they have this kind of symbiosis where they get each other and they put out a great-looking book. I hope this crossover isn't indicative of what is going to be happening with this title going forward, where it's always getting roped into other titles, kind of crossover storylines, because this has been a little gem in the DC doom and gloom, dead serious vein that they love to throw out these days. It's been fun, it's been brash, it's been bright, and I've really enjoyed it. This issue, however, was not my favourite of the series so far. Moving along from Marvel, it's issue 299 of Peter Parker, the Spectacular Spider-Man, gearing up to the issue 300, which I'm sure will be an oversized, more expensive issue because it'll be an anniversary issue. But this is kind of gearing up clearly to a big finale, and it's kind of, there are bits in here that are a little bit of a surprise, a little bit what kind of is going on in here, as we're kind of having this huge throwdown with everyone in the mix getting thrown in. We've got Avengers with the Black Panther, obviously we've got Spider-Man. Everyone is after his kind of half-sister Teresa and all the information that she's got in her kind of bloodstream downloaded, and they all want to keep it out of each other's hands because it has all the data on heroes and villains, and I guess basically how to take them down. So while Spider-Man wants to kind of get Teresa out of the country, or hidden away at least from everyone until it all kind of calms down and they can extract this information, we've got the Avengers coming in wanting to whisk her away. We all know how well the Avengers have done in the past with that kind of power and knowledge. And of course, you're going to have the bad guys in there as well, headed by the Tinkerer himself and a whole host of other villains. And it's a big smackdown, it's a big fight, but there is a little kind of few twists along the way as J. Jonah Jameson and Ms. Bright, the kind of intrepid reporters, finding out the secrets behind the kind of mobile device Stark Industries thing. And we have perhaps the reveal that Mason, who is meant to be the more kindly of the two because they're brothers to the Tinkerer, has he always been the Tinkerer? Because at the end of this issue, it looks like Mason has revealed that he's been behind all this all along, trying to get the this mobile subplot storyline with all the secrets out there to the villainous community, and suddenly the kind of chest opens and inside is the Tinkerer. It's all very like, oh, what the hell is going on? Quite surprising. But we will see, obviously, I'm guessing, at the culmination of this story arc in issue 300, and I'm sure this will change the face of Spider-Man forever. There's a very strange thing where everybody's powers get turned off during the fight, which I'm hoping will get developed more and explained in the next issue. But it was a fun, entertaining issue nonetheless, and I'm kind of really enjoying this not C-list title. I think it's at least a B. It's at least a B movie version of the big titles for Spider-Man that are out there. But I'm enjoying it nonetheless. Zdarsky writing a rollicking good adventure story, which is suitably comic book in nature. So yeah, having a lot of fun with that. Penultimate book of the week, and if my pick of the week hadn't been there this week, this would certainly have made it, because what a great thing that Donny Cates is doing over at Doctor Strange. This is issue number 384. As we saw in the end of the last issue, the Doctor Strange, Stephen Strange, has acquired this kind of magical power from the Asgardian gods, from this tree. I'm not even going to try and pronounce how to say it. I'm sure everyone's got their own versions. But now he is kind of imbued with power that supposedly he cannot handle. The great thing that Donny Cates has done in this, because, you know, I was a bit wary an issue or two ago when they brought in the Sentry, which is kind of like Marvel's basically version of Superman, all-powerful kind of superhero. I just wondered, how is he being used here? They kind of acquired him and brought him back from his isolated home, but it wasn't really discussed why he was brought in, and this addresses it perfectly, and it just makes sense, because we have seen Jason, it was Jason Aaron who started this new series of Doctor Strange off and introduced this concept that when Doctor Strange uses his magical powers, there is kind of like there's a price to pay. And he had this, unaware that there was this temple where when Doctor Strange used the power, it wasn't him that paid the price for it. It was these, I guess, followers of Doctor Strange who took on the pain of the use of that power. So when you take on this Asgardian power, which would normally be just like too much of a price to pay for a mere human, who else are you going to get but the most powerful superhero, the Sentry, to take on that pain? Only the funny thing is, though, that because the Sentry is so powerful, when Stephen is using his powers, it kind of tickles. It kind of tickles. But it's a great twist and an unseen way that I thought that the Sentry was going to be used. However, despite the fact that the fight between Stephen Strange and Loki seems to be going in Strange's way, unfortunately Zelma makes the mistake of using magic to basically... Well, she's doing it in a helpful way, what she thinks is a helpful way, in stopping their powers, each other's, for 3 minutes in the hope that they can just talk this problem out. But of course, just because they've taken their magic powers away doesn't mean that Loki still doesn't have the strength of a god and lays out Doctor Strange. And of course we, with Donny Cates, readdress that door that will not open. What is behind it? And again, it links back to the Sentry and why he has been brought in here, because as the doors open, if you know anything about the Sentry, he has this dark side. Again, it's a kind of a weighing up the good, you've got to pay with a bit of bad. And the Sentry's bad is this creation called the Void. So every time the Sentry comes out, the Void gets more stronger and more, I guess, villainous. And obviously Doctor Strange has had him trapped behind this magical door, which Loki forces him to open, much to his terror, because yes, out smashes the Void. So I'm sure all chaos is going to ensue. What a great, well-paced book this was by Donny Cates. I'm guessing this appearance of the Void is going to link into the mini-series that's coming up. Doctor Strange, is it Road to Damnation, or is it just called Damnation? Yeah, it's just called Damnation. I just wonder if that's got anything to do with or what transpires right here, but I'm going to be picking that up as well to see what all the hoo-ha is about. But just great book. Thank you to Donny Cates for continuing and making Doctor Strange a fun and interesting book to read, and not just kind of like an average magic book, because love this character. Gabriel Hernandez artwork on here. I've said I'm not a huge fan. It was okay here again. It does suitably enough. Everyone kind of raved about that page where you saw him in all his Asgardian powerful magic magician garb. There's just something maybe perhaps a little bit too gritty and down to earth for such a kind of magical, imaginative book. But I'm happy with it. This was a fantastic read. Finally, I'm sorry, I just can't help myself. It's a book that has got to be #1, because Ed Brubaker, Sean Phillips and Elizabeth Breitweiser get better and better and better with each kind of outgoing output that they have, and it's Kill or Be Killed, issue number 15. Please be picking this book up, because you are missing some stellar storytelling, some fantastic art, and the kind of twists and turns that go on in this book just keep me engrossed from issue to issue. Now, although kind of Ed Brubaker does kind of use tropes that and storytelling tropes that he's used in past issues, I don't mind because it fits the book so well. As we kind of start with these few pages, a couple of pages of this kind of winter wonderland going on, and obviously we've got Dylan's voice going over, and then we find out that he's actually in a mental institution, and you wonder, how the hell has that happened? And it's kind of like right at the very beginning of this series where he is at that present moment, you have to do a kind of like flashback, retelling, storyline of it. But it just fits so well. So here you have him in the mental institution, and we're off kilter a little bit. We're like, is this going to be one of those, oh, this is him just recounting a story in the mental institution? None of it's ever happened. He's always been in his head and he's just a crazy person. And again, Dylan addresses that as the character in here and says, no, this isn't it. This is how I got to this place. And it's basically a culmination of the last 14 issues and the stress and the mental breakdown he's clearly having has culminated. And although he's got the girl, he still has his new girlfriend's ex-boyfriend staying with them. There's tension there. Yeah, his mind is now always on this idea that there has been this family curse where they've all gone insane. They've all obviously all seen visions of this demon. Is it real? Isn't it? And you kind of see him in the run-up weeks to him being institutionalized, where the demon is constantly with him, and there is this nagging voice in his mind telling him as he passes people in the street what these people have done wrong and why they are supposedly worthy of being killed so Dylan can go on living, because that's apparently the deal that is going on. And the pressure builds and builds to the point where we have Dylan attacking the ex-boyfriend and eventually is institutionalized. And at first Dylan is very quiet, he's just taking it all in, he's staring out of windows in his mind, in thoughts to himself. But he has to tell someone, he has to tell people what is going on in his head, and he comes to a point where he's ready now. He's sick and tired of hearing the demon's voice, and he thinks, if I admit to everything, maybe this will be the demon's downfall. And so in a kind of shared circle, Dylan shares his story and how he has killed all these people at the bequest of this demon that's in his head, telling him and at least he's killed people that are kind of the despicable lowlifes of the world, mafia bosses, drug pushers and the like. But in a twist, instead of everyone being incredibly shocked and ready to kind of lock him up in a straitjacket, as we can see on the front, the guy, I guess the psychiatrist who's running the circle, inadvertently laughs at him and goes, well, you know, that's a nice little story, but obviously you've just made it up from everything you've heard, because while you've been in here, 3 other people have died due to the vigilante with the red mask on. And it kind of stops there as the big cliffhanger, and you're like, what the hell is going on? Just the most amazing storytelling. Again, Phillips and Bright Vice just make the pages pop. Just a great book, and I just, please go out and keep buying this and just enjoy the amazing storytelling, the beautiful artwork, top-notch book that's coming out of Image, in fact coming out in comics in general right now. And they're my books for this week. Thank you very much for joining me. Sorry again that there's a very full books, very short week. I think next week is a little bit bigger, which is good for me and it's good for you and good for these videos. Thank you all for watching right up to here. Let me know in the comments section down below what you thought of the books that I picked up and any others that maybe you think I'll be interested in. Give this video a big thumbs up, and if you're new here, don't forget to subscribe and don't miss out on any more of my videos. Thank you for watching. Bye bye.